Welcome to a yoga class that is specifically designed for post-travel. So right now in this season, we find ourselves at the end of the summer. A lot of folks have been out and about, expanding past their homes and exploring in the world over the summer. So after a lot of travel, especially in the era of COVID where everyone's wearing masks and we're a little bit more, cautious of the people around us, I find that travel is even more difficult on the mind and body. So what we're going to do today in this class is just unpack some of that stress that comes with travel, both mental and physical. So first off, whenever you arrive in a new place, it's a really good idea to just get your feet in the dirt, literally, in that place that you've arrived in. So this is a practice called grounding, where, especially if you've been in air travel mode, you're in a completely different environment when you end up in your new destination. And every destination has a biorhythm, an electromagnetic charge related to its location on the earth, as do we. We have an electromagnetic charge. So there's a syncing that is really important to have as soon as possible after your journey. And it's really easy to do. All you do to sync your body is connect it literally with the earth. So that means it's really important to take shoes off if we've got rubber soles or something that doesn't conduct electricity, and put your feet, your bare feet, literally on the ground, and you'll start to feel a lot better immediately. This is a super great tip for jet lag. So if you've had a really long journey and you're in a very far off new place, get those feet off, take off those socks, keep your feet on, take off the socks, take off the shoes, and put your feet on the earth. So grass is obviously really great, or any type of, even wood, if you're on a deck, that works too. So we'll start with the feet hip distance apart, and we'll put the hands on the hips and just start to sway the weight from the right foot into the heels, into the left foot, and then forward into the balls of both feet. Just continue like that in an effort to fully glue those feet on the earth. And of course, also start to awaken our spines. Often in travel, the spine is compacted with bags that we're schlepping, or perhaps having seated or stood for a long time. Just start to move those hips from right to left as you pour the weight into one foot and then the other. Then we'll slow that motion and find some steadiness in the center with both feet grounded down, and swing the arms up overhead. Just feel yourself grow taller so that the arms and the feet are reaching in opposite directions, fingers and toes, rooting and lifting at the same time. And this is where we'll really start to connect with the breath and breathe. So as I mentioned, the spine gets compacted. Now's your chance to reach one arm a little bit higher than the other, sway the hips to one side, and then reverse that, sway the hips to the other side. This is like a cat stretch on our feet. And start to breathe into the side body as you do this. So breathing into one side of the rib cage more than the other. Exhale and then switch. And then go ahead and drop both arms back through neutral. And we're going to take a seat. So often with travel too, we're standing a lot or seated in a chair, like an airplane chair. So let's start with the feet. Now that we feel a little bit more grounded in our new place, bring your thumbs to the inseam and the bottoms of the feet together in Baddha or Cobbler's pose. We're going to be working the inseam of the legs with the thumbs. So take your strong thumbs and then the four fingers connected, and wrap those four fingers on the other underside of the leg with the thumbs pressing down on the inseam of the leg. And we're just going to work that inseam from the feet all the way to the knee to start, pressing and releasing, press and release. Keep the breath flowing. And then when you get back to the knees on your next round, allow that inseam squeeze to carry up into the inner thigh region. So you can always bring your feet further away from the body if you like. Or if it's uncomfortable to sit this way, you might want to even sit up on a block or a pillow so that you can release the back fully. You don't want to have too much tension here in the back. That's exactly what we're trying to release, right? So continuing your squeezing in through the legs, we're bringing some blood flow down into the legs, wakening up that inseam. This is a seam that carries some negative emotion, some fear, or hesitation, anger even. So if we squeeze out this inseam, we awaken the legs and we release all that negative energy at the same time. Then go ahead and release your block if you came up onto your block and walk those feet out in front of you. Bring the footprints to the earth and the feet wide, about as the width of your mat. Then we'll just sway the legs from right to left and lean back a little bit so that you're really close to the sacrum in terms of touching the earth. So you want to be on the very high parts of your butt cheeks here and feel that massage from right to left. So this alone can just feel amazing after sitting for too long or standing in lines. Take some time to notice which areas of your big hips and butt muscles really need your love and breath right now. And when you feel nice and level on both sides, we'll bring the feet back in. And feel free to have a simple cross-legged here. Again, bring that block underneath the bum. If it's difficult to sit upright, or if you feel like the knees are higher than the hips, we want to have them level with the hips or even lower. Then from here, just like we did standing, sweep those arms up overhead. Get a big stretch through the fingers, open the heart, pull those low ribs in as you stretch up. And then exhale, just that right arm descends. As the right arm descends, reach out through the left and side bend over to the right. So this right arm, we're going to bend the elbow and curl it in towards the side ribs. Focus on the length on this left side. So we've got that left hip rooted down, and we have your left arm reaching up. Exhale, go ahead and release, coming back through center, sweep that left arm up and around, and then both arms up on inhale. Exhale, left arm can come back down to the earth, and we'll reach up to the right arm. Yeah, so feel that right hip descend, root down into the earth. You can even get a little wiggle through the fingers here as you continue to breathe and open the right rib cage. On the next inhale, come on up. Bring your hands right there to the rib cage, just low ribs. Often when we side bend or back bend, these ribs jut out forward. So see if you can bring your hands to them and sort of help press them back to the spine as you breathe. Continue breathing here. And feel the breath expand, not only in the front just a little bit as we're trying to keep those ribs tucked in, but definitely in the side bodies and surely through the back body. Focusing in the back body, feel as though you have these wings that are just springing out from your shoulder blades, and fill them with breath. Allow them to flap in the wind of your breath. Let's take 2 more cycles of breath like that. Feel free to constrict the throat in Ujjayi breathing so that you can hear the breath in and out of the body. One more cycle, just like that. Feel yourself expand in 3 dimensions through the ribs. Beautiful. Let's come to our hands and knees. Go ahead and remove that prop. And then walk the hands underneath the shoulders and walk the knees directly underneath the hips. So feel free to visually check yourself out. Make sure those knees are in fact directly underneath the hips and wrists underneath the shoulders. Then we'll want to start with a nice flat spine. So most folks like to hammock here just naturally. You can see my spine exaggerated in this hammock. See if you can inhale and inflate the kidney region, this low back region, just enough so that you feel super straight in the back. Tuck the chin a little bit, lengthen through the back of the neck. Look down towards your hands and make sure there's even pie slices between each finger and that you're really active through the fingers. Spreading the weight down through the knuckles. On the inhale, we'll drop the belly and lift the heart. And on the exhale, draw the belly in. That is the originator of this motion. So everything flows through the navel here. On the inhale, the navel drops. The heart lifts forward, the breath deepens, and on the exhale, the navel lifts. Squeeze it up to the spine. Let's do 2 more just like that. Really slow and conscious. Breathing into all those compacted areas in the body, especially the low spine, the low back, the lumbar. Last breath. Exhale it all out. Squeeze your Halloween cat up to the sky. And then inhale, drop the belly, fill yourself with breath. And on the exhale, we'll drop the hips back into child's pose. So we're going to take a minute here in child's pose. Travel involves a lot of movement. We're just focused on our destination and, enduring the path in between, right? So now's the time to rejoice in the fact that you've made it. Take some slow breaths here and just sway from right to left through the hips. So I'm up on top of my finger pads to create really active arms and hands. But truly the motion is happening here in the low back as I sway from right knee to left knee, opening up the hips, lengthening the low back. And then eventually you might come forward into the center and find some stillness in the body, but some generous movement through the breath. Let your belly hang free and make sure the knees are wide enough so that it can do that. Drop straight between the legs and fill with breath. Let your head come to the earth, and if that's not possible, that's where we can bring this block in again, so that your head has something to land on. This is that moment of grounding extended. So we are grounding now with the whole body, the forehead being a really important part of that. So make sure you have something to rest on, and then see if you can, little by little, allow all of the musculature to melt. As you breathe and flow through breath, the body becomes more and more still. Feel yourself expanding so much through the breath that you can feel your back moving, ebbing and flowing. 2 more cycles of breath, just like this. One more big cycle. We're constricting the hip joint intentionally so that on your next inhale, as you halfway lift up, press down through the hands, you can start to alleviate that compression as you walk the hands in on exhale. Sitting straight up onto your heels, just feel the release of the compression in the low body and feel the transition to more of an upright seated position through the head and brain. Beautiful. Okay, so if you have that block on your mat, you'll bring that over to the side and come back to hands and knees. Let's get some twisting in the upper body. And what that looks like is the left hand will come right into the center of the mat, and the right hand will come first to your sacrum. So as I mentioned, we hammock here in the low back, and this is your opportunity to check out the hips and adjust that micro movement style. So we want to pull the low belly in to inflate that low back. And we want to make sure that both knees share the weight of your hips. When you feel nice and level through the hips, wrap that right shoulder up on top of the back and lift the right arm up to the sky. Take a big breath. Feel your wings expand. And then as you exhale, that right arm's going to slide underneath the body, underneath the left arm, until your shoulder comes to the earth. With the shoulder on the earth, here I'll do the opposite side so you can see me well. With the shoulder on the earth, the left hand will come to a kickstand right in front of the face. So back to our finger pads with the elbow stacked right on top of the wrist. Breathe deeply here and remember to share the weight between the legs. So I have the toes untucked here and I like to root down through the tops of the feet actually. So not only are the knees holding some of my body weight, but so are the feet, that far away from the face. Pull the belly in as you exhale to squeeze out any toxic air that you might have sipped in on your journey. And then on the next exhale, bring your whole handprint right in front of the face, root it down on the left side to lift that right arm up to the sky. Beautiful. Exhale, release and switch sides. Left arm will now lift up to the sky. Reach it out. And then exhale, dive that left arm underneath the body. And enjoy this twist. The whole length of your extended arm is rooted into the earth here. So you've got your kickstand hand, but the other arm is equally as active. See if you can create some space between your rooted shoulder and your ear. Maybe even lifting the head up to scooch it forward towards the top of your mat a little bit and create that space intentionally. One more breath here. Then take that kickstand hand, place it squarely in front of the face, root it down, and lift your opposite arm up to the sky. Go ahead and release. And then we'll bring both hands back to hands and knees, and hips start to move in a circular motion. So send them back towards the right heel, slide them over to the left heel, bring them on forward, tuck your tailbone as you come forward, and then reach it back. So we'll do circles in one direction, about 4 or 5, before we switch sides and explore that other direction. The key here is to link your motion with breath. It's like you're churning yourself, like churning butter back in the day. You're churning your hips. You're somewhat erasing all of the trauma that your body and mind have experienced in travel. Sometimes it can be quite traumatic. I'm sure we've all had those experiences of lost bags and missed flights. Let that all go, release the jaw, and go ahead and switch circles, switch directions of your circle whenever you're ready. Notice as soon as you switch, wow, how does this side differ from the last? What could I be doing in my daily life to make these two sides feel so different? Maybe they don't feel different today. Just take an inventory, an objective reporting. Half of yoga is really observing. The other half is existing in the moment, being connected to that moment. Then we'll slow the circles on your next inhale breath. Bring yourself back through hands and knees. We'll tuck the toes here and reach straight back into downward dog. So with downward dog, how you can really identify the length of your dog is through plank. So we'll drop the hips, come forward in plank, and you want to have the shoulders right above the wrists and the heels right above the balls of the feet. That's the distance your dog should be. So as you inhale and bring the hips straight back and up towards the sky, press down through the length of each finger and paddle out the feet when you're ready. So bending one knee, take a big breath. Exhale, extend that leg, bend the other leg. Inhale. Exhale, reverse it. One more time on each side. That feels great. Keep those arms nice and strong. Avoid the shoulders creeping up towards the ears and then down to the side bodies and away from each other. And then go ahead and release, bend those knees, bring them all the way back to the earth. Walk the hands back. And we're gonna do a little bit of lunging from right to left side. So if you have a sacrum that gets, easily knocked out of place with unilateral movement, you'll want to be really careful not to go too deeply into your lunge series. The rest of us will come forward onto hands and knees and go ahead and drag that left foot forward. Placing it right between the hands. Come on up to your back knee. So for me, this is pretty difficult on my knees. I have some sensitive knees. So I always like to bring a blanket into the situation when I've got a kneecap on the ground. So if that's you, please do give yourself props, as I like to say, and put that blanket right underneath your knee. You can always fold up your mat too to cushion yourself. So this front knee is going to be stacked right on top of the ankle, and the back knee is a wider angle than 90 degrees. So you can have those back toes tucked or extended, yogi's choice. We're just gonna get a little bit of motion through the hips again, front to back. So inhale forward, imagine that your hips are aligned on a track. And exhale back. Keep those front toes rooted into the earth as you move. And feel free to allow this movement to be as slow and generous as you like. Just stay connected to the breath, linking each segment of movement with a segment of your breath. One more time forward, inhale into your lunge. And then on the exhale, you might lift up that back foot. If you have the ability to grab the top of the foot with your front arm, feel free to do that. But you want to press back into the hand with the top of the foot. That might actually lift you upright a little bit more on top of the knee. So there you'll feel a really great stretch through the front of your right leg. Keep your breath flowing. And go ahead and exhale. Come forward to exhale. Drop that left hand to the earth. Then release your right hand front foot. Tuck those toes. Lift up the back heel, or lift up the back knee rather, and find your full expression of the lunge. Take a big breath here. On inhale, bring the hands to the knee. On exhale, sink a little deeper. One more breath. Inhale. You can sweep those arms up if you like. And then exhale, bring the hands back to the earth on either side of your front foot, and then delicately lower that back knee down to your blanket. Lift your left foot up, reach it back, straight back to a wall behind you. Flex your foot as though you're pressing into that wall. And then lift your right arm up in opposition. So left leg reaching back, right arm reaching forward. Inhale to your low kidneys. Inflate your low back with breath. Feel those wings flapping with your breath. And then go ahead and release. That's a little bit of balance to level out the right and left side of the brain. And then we'll come back to hands and knees and just straight back into child's pose in between. So option here to open the chest. So when we're traveling, we're also not only compressing the low back, but we're also collapsing a lot in the front of the body and the chest, especially with our masks on. There's a tendency to breathe shallowly and to protect yourself, protect your lungs and your heart. So to counteract all that curling inward, we can always bring the elbows right into the place of where the hands were, and hands and knees, and then come back into a child's pose variation, dragging the heart back with you, and then keeping the elbows reaching forward. You might bring your forehead to the earth there. You might bring your forehead to a blanket or a block. Breathe in between your shoulder blades and have a nice connection between the hands. So it's nothing too aggressive, but we are pressing them together, feeling that connection. One more big breath behind the heart. Beautiful. Go ahead and release by extending the arms back to the earth. Reach them forward into full expression of child's pose. And then on your next breath, come all the way back up to hands and knees. So I know that we're going to lunge on the other side. I'm going to take my blanket and bring it over there now. Slide that blanket underneath your left knee and then reach your right foot forward. So the right foot's going to be between the front two hands. And you're going to imagine that the hips are in these tracks, kind of like cross-country skiing. So we're going to avoid swaying the hips from right to left. And it's really just a front to back motion. Very simple. You don't have to extend the leg fully. You don't have to come into your full expression of a lunge. We're just creating some motion in the ocean here, bringing in some energy and blood flow into these large muscle groups. Biggest muscle group in the body. Link with your breath to feel graceful and connected to your body, to your mind, and to this moment. And we'll take 2 more cycles just like this. Gotta level out this other side. Explore it. Notice how it differs from the last. On your next inhale, come forward into your full low lunge, and then you might even lift that back foot up, reach back behind you with the left hand, maybe grab the top of the foot and press back into your hand with that foot. Big opener on the front hip flexor on this left side. Tuck the belly in, so we're not spilling forward lazily through the front body. We're still active, drawing up and in through the belly. One more breath here. Then to come out of this quad stretch, you'll want to come forward and release gently through the back clasp. Bringing both hands to the front foot, tuck the toes in your back foot. Feel the full extension of your lunge. You might stay low here, just enjoying the lunge here. You might want to come up onto the knee and sink a little bit deeper into your lunge, a little bit more active through the legs. Last breath, option to raise the arms up overhead. Feel the hip extension from your left toes all the way to your left fingertips. One more breath here. And then delicately, gracefully, reach the arms back down on either side of your front foot. Drop that back knee. Lift your knee on the right side. Lift your foot up and send it back to meet the left. So one last time, child's pose. This time we'll bring the knees together so that the belly is unable to spill in between the legs. And we create some compression in the internal organs. So instead of reaching the arms forward, we're actually going to swing those arms back. Palms facing upward. Again, forehead to the mat, or feel free to have forehead to block if that's easier. It can be a lot harder to get your head on the earth when the legs are together. So feel free to give yourself support. That's what this whole thing's about. How can we better support ourselves? This is the pose that I feel is most conducive for unpacking your bags post-travel. You can actually feel the shoulders rolling, which to me makes me visualize the bags that I was carrying just sliding right off the shoulders, one breath at a time. Feel yourself get lighter. Feel yourself grounding through the forehead, through the front body, syncing up with your new place. One more breath cycle. Make it a good one. Really expand out through the back. And then as you exhale, swing those hands right alongside the face, palms down. Inhale, press into the palms and lift yourself back up. Seated upright on your heels. If this is uncomfortable, grab that block. Place it between the shins and directly underneath your sits bones. So you can create some space there. You might even want a second block. Get nice and tall. You don't want any unwanted compression. And then go ahead and tilt to one side of the body so that you can release your shin or your calf muscle out to the side, and then the opposite side as well, so you can sit nice and tall. Let's interlace the hands at the heart. Send them forward. Take a big breath there. Feel those wings expand back behind you. As you exhale, the arms will lift up to the sky. So we won't go all the way there. We're about a diagonal so that we can drop the shoulders. So this is one of those classic moves where the shoulders creep up towards the ears. And we're going to work our breath to drop them. So keep those low ribs knitted in. Remember we talked about the low ribs jutting forward. We're going to suck those low ribs in so that we can find even more length. As you draw the ribs in, there's nowhere for the breath to go but up and out the back. Feel yourself grow taller. Feel that low spine compress. And if you have any tension in the low body, release that here as you sit and breathe. Over time, the arms will start to feel funny. You might get some pins and needles or some coolness up in the very fingertips and palms. This is all evidence that the prana or energy is moving in the body. One more breath like this. And then go ahead and drop the palms back towards the horizon. Keep lengthening through the arms. And there's a slight tug between the hands. So there's activity there in the arms. And then go ahead and release the clasp of the hands and rotate out through the wrists. Keep the breath flowing. And then we're going to explore eagle arms. So with eagle arms, this is another effort to unpack the collapsing that we do or the protection that we do while we're traveling. We're going to open the wings out wide first. And then exhale, bring the arms together. So take 3 motions like this. Inhale, spread the wings. Squeeze those shoulder blades together behind the back. And remember your low ribs. Keep them knitted in, tucked in towards the spine. One more time. Inhale wide. And then on your next exhale, the left arm will come underneath the right arm. We'll bring the backs of the hands together. Or you might have a second twist in your ability to find the eagle arm. So right away, most of us will have those shoulders up towards the ears. This is your time over the next cycle or 2 of breath to work and drop those shoulders without dropping the elbows. Feel that space between the shoulders open. Ignite. There's a chakra of energy there. Feel it begin to swirl with your breath and intention. And go ahead and release the arms. We're going to drop the forearms parallel to the earth to unravel. And then bring those arms all the way back out to the sides. Oof, yes. Open the chest. Take a big breath. Spread it across you like butter on toast. And then go ahead and exhale, switch sides. Right arm comes underneath the left. Then you might bring the backs of the hands together. If you do have the backs of the hands together, really press them together. There's the activity in the pose. If you can take your double wrap, hooking the palms together, go ahead and do that, but continue to draw the shoulders down the back. This is also great neck release. So if you've been in a plane, train, or automobile and doing the whiplash falling asleep method like I always do, then this is really good to kind of release all those little muscles in the neck that might be overworked from your attempts at sleep. Go ahead and unravel your eagle arms on the next breath, dropping the palms down to the horizon line before exiting the arms from each other. Take a big breath across the chest. Lovely. Go ahead and exhale that now. Okay, so we are going to set up for bridge pose. You will want your block or some pillow or two. And then you're gonna sit your butt right in the middle of the mat, have that block handy, and roll your way down. So before we come down, let's get some lift in the sits bones so that they're extremely rooted down. And we're gonna work our way through half boat on the way. So with half boat, you're working your way down to the earth, squeezing into the body as you engage the core, keep those feet lifted up off the earth. Try to keep the sacrum on the earth and nothing else as long as you can. And then slowly roll one vertebra at a time. So we're getting some engagement in the abdominals. As soon as the head hits the ground, lift those arms up overhead and find that big cat stretch we did at the beginning of class. Now on your back. Go ahead and set up for bridge by bending each knee. Bring the feet to the earth and cozy up right next to the sits bones. So you can even reach down and graze the Achilles with your fingertips. You know you're in the right place. So we want those feet hip distance apart. And we'll start bridge posture with some motion before we hold it for that delicious restorative bridge variation that we all love. Let's start with some motion. So pull the belly into the spine, tuck the tailbone. As you exhale, one vertebra at a time lifts till you just reach the top of your exhale. Inhale, drop the spine back down, one vertebra at a time. Feel yourself draping onto the earth with conscious breath and intention. Exhale to curl the spine back up. Strongly tucking the tailbone. And then inhale your way down. So this is kind of a unique way of breathing with this posture. Just stay connected. One more time. Lift it up. Squeeze at the top. Squeeze everything through the midline. Except the upper body. We want to stay nice and relaxed through the neck still. One vertebra at a time comes back down. Last bridge. We're going to hold it up there and slide the block underneath the sacrum. So take your time. Imagine every single vertebra as it disconnects from the earth and reaches away from its neighbors. So we create space, intervertebral space. And then go ahead and hold here at the top of bridge pose. This is where we get our delicious restorative moment. Go ahead and place your block right underneath the sacrum. And when you can't hold this pose any longer, slowly roll it down until the sacrum lands right on top of your block. At this point, walk the feet out wider than hip distance so you can feel those knees knock in towards one another. They don't need to touch. We just want to work the feet wide enough so that the knees don't feel like they're that there's any effort to keep them upright. So they hover, so to speak. And this is where we can begin to breathe more fully, unlocking any tension in the face. So we've got the back of the head on the earth now. And imagine this is a portal. right in the connection of where your skull, the back of your head, connects with the earth beneath you. In this portal, we are enabled, it's a one-way street, so to speak. It's a place that we can deposit anything that no longer serves us. So if you've got residual stress or anxiety from travel, a lot of people experience travel anxiety. Send those emotions, send those feelings straight out that portal in the back of your head, depositing it into the large energetic center of the earth. The earth's energy is so vast, so grand, that it can absorb anything we throw at it. So let those bags go. Unpack your bags right off your back, right out of your mind, and release them to the earth. This is a very nourishing inversion, technically is an inversion, which is always a fantastic reset. So we started today's practice grounding through the feet, and here we are now grounding through the head. The inversions are designed to flush out the brain as the blood flow collects in the heart space and in the brain. See if you can start to feel the coolness in the front body as your back body collects this blood and fresh oxygen. Notice if there's any part of the body that is still clinging, still in tension, still grappling with this shape or this moment. Release that on your next exhale. And we'll take one more breath here. Sip it in. Send the breath down into your extremities, into the fingers and the toes. Circulate the breath through the whole body, and on the exhale, send it out through the back of your head. Feel yourself empty as the belly pulls back to the spine. Squeeze out all that toxic air. One more time. Squeeze it out. Beautiful. On the next inhale, press down through your feet. If they are wider than hips distance, let's actually bring them back to hip distance first. Then press down through the feet. Tuck your tailbone to lift up off your block. Go ahead and remove it up from underneath you. Keep the hips lifted, and then one by one, see if you can reach those shoulders further underneath the back. Scooch them underneath to help lift the hips even higher. You can interlace the hands here. I like to keep the pinkies extended and the rest of the fingers interlaced. Make sure there's still space between your chin and your chest, and lengthen the neck for one more breath. On your exhale, unravel the hands first, widening them back to shoulder distance apart, and then one by one, releasing the shoulders out from underneath you. And each vertebra touches down singularly at a time until you find yourself with the big sacral bone, that triangle bone at the base of the spine, touching down. As soon as that happens, reach your arms wide, grab the knees, hug them in tight, take a big breath, and sway from the right to the left side. So we're going to continue this reclined state and get a little bit of a hip opener. So extend the legs straight up overhead. This is also technically an inversion. We'll only be here for a moment to feel some lightness in the feet. You can always circle out through the ankles here. Often we're standing a lot through travel. And the ankles are probably one of the body parts that get the least amount of love. So send some breath, send some motion there now. Thank you, ankles, for supporting me so diligently, taking me where I need to go. And then go ahead and bend that left knee into the body and cross the left ankle right on top of your right quadricep. Go ahead and bend that right knee, bring the bottom of the foot to the earth, and feel yourself here in figure four pose. So this might be enough of a hip opener, just lying here in figure four. You might want to lift the right foot up and bring your left leg towards the body as you bend that right knee deeper and deeper. You can reach your arms through the figure four, interlace hands on the outside of your right shin to help draw the leg in. But truly the most important part is that you stay flexed here through the left foot. So we want to flex, flex, flex to protect that left knee. Squeeze it in and breathe. One more breath here. Feel the whole length of your spine connected to the earth. So we can almost resist postures, right? Push away from them. Let yourself melt like butter in a pan. That's 2 butter references. I must be hungry. Sway from right to left, opening that left hip up just a little bit with each micro movement, discovering a new crevice, a new nook and cranny in which your breath should flow. And then we're gonna release the legs away from the torso a little bit and then bring the whole configuration over to the right. So hopefully that left foot touches down on the earth and the whole outer seam of the right leg is also on the earth. This is a great place to take your left arm and extend it out all the way to the left and onto the planet. Right hand can come to the inseam of your left leg. And you can just provide a little bit of pressure there if that feels good. Lifting that left knee away from the torso. What I want to make sure you do though is keep your spine on the mat. So pull the belly back and in as you reach that left leg away and open the hip joint. Breathe. Oh yeah, hard to do this in the airplane chair. Definitely something we need to address post-travel. And then go ahead and release the figure four in this pose. I like to bring it all back through center so you can use your right hand to help lift your left foot back up. And then both legs unravel and reach back to the sky. In between sides, both arms can reach out like a T and get those ankles moving again. Get the breath down into the feet. So our breath is circulating here on the earth, right? We've got our lungs pressing down into the planet. See if when you inhale, you can actually press the breath all the way up into the toes. All the way out into the fingers. And then go ahead and release. So we'll bend the right knee and wrap that ankle on top of your left quadricep. You can start with the left foot on the planet. If that feels good to you, go ahead and stay here. We want to make sure that the hips are level and that the spine is glued. If you'd like to lift up through the left foot and bring the whole configuration of legs closer to the body, you might even reach between the figure four and interlace your hands on the outside of the left shin. But notice if this side wants you to treat it differently than the last. So often our mind likes to keep things level and equal and even, but sometimes the body has a different message to impart. So be aware, conscious, loving, understanding, and listen as though you were listening to a dear friend. I like to sway a little bit from right to left here, a little micro movement to massage the sacrum and also explore the hip joint. This side feels markedly different from the last to me. No doubt how I was sitting in my chair most recently has impacted my hips and the levelness there. So that's all we're doing here, is trying to create some levelness, not force it. Then go ahead and release your clasp if you have it. Press the feet a little bit away from the torso and then all the way over to the left. If your right foot is having a hard time coming to the planet, you can also land it on top of a block or a pillow. That works. Right arm reaches straight out onto the planet, and then the left hand can come to the inseam of the right leg, the right hip crease. You might push that away a little bit. Nothing too aggressive. Always linked to breath. Great twist for opening the heart and the hips simultaneously. Keep the breath flowing. We're going to round out our practice with just 2 more postures here before re-entering the day or evening. Take 1 more breath here. Tuck the tailbone. If you're pushing your upper leg away from the body, tuck the tailbone to activate that IT band. Ooh, yeah. And then when you're ready, take your left fingers, slide them underneath your left leg or right foot or both, and inhale your knees back upright. Go ahead and straighten the legs to the sky. With your next inhale, press into that ceiling plane, flex the feet, and then exhale, point the toes. Let's bring the legs back to the earth, and we're going to roll onto the right side and lift up to a comfortable seat so that we can explore back into Baddha Konasana where we began. So Baddha Konasana, bottoms of the feet together, cobbler's pose. Like I mentioned before, many of us do well to have a block or something underneath the sits bones here. So please accommodate. You're looking for knees level with the hips or perhaps lower. Today I'm not in need of the block, but every day is a different day, so it's always good to have it handy. I am going to take my blanket, however, a little less high than the block, and place that directly underneath the sits bone so I can feel the hip bowl, the bowl that the hips make, spill forward. Then let's look at our feet. Knife edge sides of the feet together. We're working to open the book, so to speak, by bringing the thumbs on the inside of our feet and opening them up just like a book. This may be your posture, grabbing at ankles or bottoms of the feet and working on length. The rest of us that want the forward fold will begin to curve in the spine. So we go from a flat spine to a fully curved, almost snail-like spine as we curl in on ourselves. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of this protection motion through the body when we're traveling, where we're pretty much curled up in a C shape in that airplane chair anyway, right? So at this point, we're exaggerating that. We're going past that motion so that we can explore a greater range of motion than what the airplane seat provides us. Feel your back body expanding with breath. Find those wings again, lifting you up with each inhale. Press into the knife edge side of your feet to activate the legs, and maybe sink yourself deeper into the forward fold. We're only going to take 2 more breaths here. Make them really good. Send them out, the back body, the side body. Let your head dangle heavy. 1 more breath. Slowly walk your way up on your next inhale, very incrementally, until you find yourself upright through the spine, hands come to knees. Take a moment, I call this the Marination Moment, to feel the shift in energy. Feel the shift in your mood from the beginning of practice. Feel as though you have arrived, not only in your new destination, but squarely in your own mind-body connection. Let's float the hands up to the heart space. Feel free to take as long as you like here in seated meditation or in reclined in Savasana. And then when you feel completely emptied of your travel history and ready to join the people and the place that you're now in, go ahead and release your meditation or your reclined Savasana